Very roughly, you want to match your weapon to the style of defense you want to use. Here's fighting mech breachers with a short range style. Here's fighting mech breachers with a long range style. Here's fighting centipedes with a kill box. Here's fighting the same centipedes with ambushing. Here's a short range kill box. Here's a long range kill box. Rimworld is intentionally created so multiple different types of combat are viable. There's no best style. Rimworld weapons are intentionally created so different weapons have different niches, strengths, and weaknesses. There's no best Rimworld weapons. There are best Rimworld weapons for specific styles. The goal is to help you match the weapon to the style. Heavy SMGs and assault rifles are general use weapons and two of the most popular weapons, so I'll be talking about those two and comparing weapons to those two quite a lot. Generally, the first weapon you want to craft for yourself is one of these three: bolt-action rifle, heavy SMG, or chain shotgun. Those three are fairly early in the tech tree. These other four weapons all require microelectronics research and making a high-tech research bench. It is possible to skip to one of those four later weapons, but you probably want to craft one of the first three first. A quick note on range. Sometimes ranges on weapons in Rimworld are kind of funky. Chain shotgun, range 13. I think that includes the tile they stand on. 5, 10, 11, 12. Can't shoot 13. In the guide, I may refer to the range of chain shotgun as 12. I may do it as 13 at times, and for other weapons, I may be up or down off by 1, but I think you'll get the idea. Chain shotguns are specifically made to dish out absurd amounts of damage at short range. Chain shotguns within their range do more damage than virtually any other weapon possibly could at any range. Skill level is not a factor. The only possible exception will be miniguns, and that's only in specific circumstances. Chain shotguns do the most damage. However, chain shotguns are completely useless at mid and long range. Chain shotguns have a range of only 12, which is about half the next shortest range weapon on the list. You cannot even attempt to fire beyond range 12. You must fight everything at close range with a chain shotgun. It is completely possible to play Rimworld and fight everything at short range. There are short-range options for every threat. If you are confident you can achieve all short-range fighting, you probably want the chain shotgun throughout the entire game. The heavy SMG excels at short-range style of play, but not quite as much as the chain shotgun. Optionally, the heavy SMG can fire at longer range. One uses the heavy SMG because that option to fire at slightly longer range can be extremely important. Things go wrong in Rimworld, and maybe you will sometimes have enemies just outside that 12 range of the chain shotgun. The heavy SMG can shoot them. The heavy SMG is utterly fantastic in ranges 1 to 8. But even within that range of 8 cells, the heavy SMG's damage has already started to fall off. Every single step further away from the target makes the heavy SMG worse. The heavy SMG can fire at targets further than 12 cells away, but if you are regularly doing that, you probably should switch to another weapon as soon as possible. The bolt-action rifle is the opposite of the heavy SMG. The bolt-action rifle excels at long-range style of play and is relatively weak in short range. Here's an example of a long-range defensive setup that's fantastic with bolt actions. Bolt actions are especially good for kiting things like breachers and zappers. One general rule we'll talk about later is, at low skill level, you want short-range weapons and short-range tactics. Damage falls off radically at longer ranges based on skill level. There is no magic number of shooting skill, item quality, or colonist count where you can switch to longer range tactics like a bolt-action rifle. The lower all of those things, the longer it is going to take to deal enough damage to defeat enemies. However, tactics and smart play can give you that time. Being at long range also gives you the time and safety to execute the plan simply by the nature of being long range. Shooting skill rises fairly quickly when you're shooting a lot. Here's an example of using low skill shooters with normal quality bolt actions and only a few colonists. Is it possible to play long range tactics with low skill, low colonist count? Yes. Will it take some time? Also yes. Is there a specific skill, weapon quality, or colonist count number where it's mathematically viable or better to use long-range weapons? No. You use mid and long-range weapons specifically because mid and longer ranges have inherent advantages. Mid and long-range weapons are simply never going to deal more damage than a chain shotgun or heavy SMG does at short range. Skill is not a factor on which does more damage. More on this later. So in summary, for those first 3 available weapons, chain shotgun, short range dominator, most possible damage. All fights must be at short range and not fire beyond range 12. Heavy SMG, excellent at short range, can fire at longer ranges up to range 22, but every cell further away makes the heavy SMG worse. Generally, use something other than a heavy SMG if you regularly fight beyond about range 12. Bolt action rifle, it's for long range fighting, range of 36, and hit many enemies at ranges where the enemies literally cannot shoot you back. Relatively poor at short range. Low skill, low colonist count, and low quality weapon long range fights are very tedious because you deal so little damage. There's other niches other than simply being short or long range. These next 4 weapons all have particular niches, require more research, and are quite a bit more expensive than those first 3. Assault rifles strike a balance between longer range and firepower. Assault rifles have longer range than charge rifles, charge lances, heavy SMGs, LMGs, and most other weapons. Assault rifles can kite blaster centipedes without them firing back. Assault rifles are pretty good, but not the best at pretty much everything. One reason assault rifles are fairly popular right now is because there's no tactic you cannot do. You can fight at short range, you can kite, you can fight at mid-range, all with an assault rifle. It may not be the best in some of those circumstances, but it is good enough in every circumstance. With the assault rifle, you always get to choose the best tactic for the threat. You aren't limited by your weapon. Compared to heavy SMGs, assault rifles always do more damage at ranges greater than 12. That's true at every skill level. Charge rifles are mid-range weapons that also have terrific armor penetration. Higher tier enemies with more armor make that armor penetration stat more relevant. Charge rifles don't quite have enough range to kite foes like blaster centipedes, like the bolt actions or even assault rifles can. That tiny bit of extra range on the assault rifle is the reason why many players choose assault over a charge rifle. The reason for using a charge rifle is dishing out huge amounts of damage on armored foes while standing in ranges of about 10 to 25. If you set up your defenses and execute tactics that are always within range of 10 to 25, then you want the charge rifle. It is possible to play and succeed with such tactics. Charge rifles are quite late in the tech tree and fairly expensive, so often a player goes towards another weapon first. Miniguns are all about standing in place and blasting. There is no longer forced missed radius on the minigun. Miniguns excel at 2 purposes. 1, dealing damage to large targets like centipedes. The body size and large hit point pool of a centipede means a minigun can just keep blasting and misses are heavily reduced. 2, crowds. The minigun may miss a lot. In a crowd of enemies, those misses are going to hit somebody. You may want to place a sleeping spot and fire at the spot at times with a minigun. Just keep the bullets going down range if there's a big crowd. The downsides of a minigun are cost, 20 components each, movement speed penalty, large aiming, firing, and cooldown time. The total of these 3 numbers is called the firing cycle. Minigun firing cycle, 6.8 seconds. Assault rifle, about 3 seconds. Miniguns have more than double the amount of time standing in place and letting enemies catch up and shoot back. That makes kiting and mobile tactics rather difficult with a minigun. The assault rifle and the minigun have the same range, but it's far easier to execute kiting with an assault rifle. The minigun firing cycle can be reduced with things like trigger happy, shooting specialist, and the bandolier item. Is it possible to kite with a minigun? Yes. Is it easy to kite with a minigun? I would say no. The aiming and firing time of the minigun are really big potential issues. If the minigun aims, the target dies, then it has to re-aim again, and then the minigun is not actually doing its theoretical damage because it simply isn't firing. The same is true if the target dies in the first few bullets fired of the minigun. The minigun can potentially fire 25 bullets. The DPS numbers on spreadsheets for miniguns is a lie in these specific situations. The huge firing cycle time of the minigun compared to every other weapon in the game means those situations may be quite common. Used properly, the minigun is the absolute pinnacle of Rimworld damage dealing. Using the minigun properly may be difficult because of that 6.8 second firing cycle time. Sniper rifles are all about the range. There may be times where you want to fire and know that anyone equipped with a lesser weapon cannot fire back. That's the purpose of a sniper rifle. The downside of a sniper rifle is it doesn't do much damage over time. Something like a huge tribal breach rate is likely going to overrun your group of snipers before they can take them all out. Snipers do a little less damage than bolt actions when kiting within bolt action range. However, the extra range of a sniper rifle makes kiting a little bit easier. In practice, in my experience, I did about the same damage kiting with snipers and bolts simply because it was easier for me to kite with the sniper rifles. I couldn't quite perfectly achieve the bolt action's theoretical damage on paper. You absolutely can overcome the lack of firepower or damage per second of the sniper rifle with good tactics and maneuvering. But in general, sniper rifles are mostly when you really need to be the person with the longest range. Where is the LMG? In short, one of the charge rifle, assault rifle, or minigun excels in that specific niche. Charge rifles generally do more damage in a range of about 8 to 25. Assault rifles kite better because they have longer range. Miniguns have more potential at spraying a million bullets into a crowd. The LMG's niche is stopping power, and generally it's better to stop the enemies via killing them. Where's the charge lance? Mostly the same issue as the LMG. Surprisingly, the charge lance has less range than an assault rifle. If you want to kite, you probably want assault rifles. If you're looking at pure damage over time in those mid 10 to 25 ranges, then you probably want a charge rifle. Charge lances niches are armor penetration and single shot damage. Those are kind of neat niches to have, but they're generally not as important as other things. Uranium Mace is the recommended melee weapon. Plasteel Longsword, Plasteel Spear, and Uranium Warhammer from the Royalty DLC are all great craftable options. The Mace gets the recommendations because a mace is cheaper, it requires less research, and it uses uranium, which is generally less useful than Plasteel. Also, the Mace doing blunt damage means lots of potential stuns. Stunned enemies don't do damage back, and staying alive can sometimes be more important than pure damage. The damage on all of those four weapons is actually really close on all targets regardless of armor type. From the Royalty DLC, the Zeus Hammer and the Monosword are significantly a step above anything the player can craft. Persona versions of those two are a significant step up even above those. Plasma swords are generally not desired because lighting things on fire is less desirable than just killing something. In general, don't use any melee weapon implants on dedicated melee fighters. Use a real melee weapon. Listed melee DPS on weapons is kind of a big lie. These numbers are actually estimates based on how often the game thinks a person will use each attack, and not the actual frequency of each attack. Yet, the DPS numbers on weapons is probably the best way to judge melee weapons and compare different qualities in weapons. Never judge a weapon equipped versus one on the ground. Always make sure you judge equipped versus equipped or ground versus ground. If you want to start digging into the actual math of melee weapons, you need to start looking at the melee verb system. Options, Dev Mode, Actions tab, Show More Actions, search for the word Verbs, click List Melee Verbs, then click on your melee fighter equipped with a weapon. In short, a person tries to use their quote best attack 75% of the time, and their next best attack 25% of the time. Bionic and Argotech arms and melee damage genes from the Biotech DLC alter the results in potentially wild and confusing and complicated ways. And it's yet even way more complicated than that, but maybe if you wanted to get details, you can start with that information. Oh, and you need to look into melee weapon damage bonus types, like how slash attacks can hit multiple exterior parts in one attack. Stab attacks can penetrate into internal parts, and blunt can propagate up parts. So unless you know the exact specifics and health of your colonist and your exact melee weapon at the same time, you can't really predict the exact DPS on melee weapons. But you still should just use the DPS number on melee weapons because it's the best information you can probably get, and really just make a Uranium Mace. Clothing. Pants. Pants are the best material you've got, or flak pants are both fine choices. Flak pants have a small movement speed penalty. Standard pants don't. At the very top end of materials, standard pants are pretty much strictly better. Button-down shirt. Paying the extra 5 material for button-down over standard shirt is virtually always worth it. Interestingly, tribal wear may be desired over button-down shirt and pants. Shirt and pants cover more body parts for more protection. Tribal wear is a little cheaper and actually has better temperature protection. The choice between regular pants and flak pants or tribal wear versus shirt and pants isn't particularly a big deal. A flak vest is essentially marine armor for the chest and neck. A normal flak vest provides 100% sharp armor to the torso and neck. Normal marine armor provides 106% sharp armor. But with a flak vest, you get to wear a duster or parka over top of it for added protection. The way layering armor works is kind of complicated, but it makes the numbers pretty close. Flak vests have a small movement speed penalty. Flak vests are far cheaper, far earlier in the tech tree, and provide similar protection to the important bits, so they get the recommendation over power armor in the picture. But if you are very late in the game and resources are no issue, you might want any of recon, marine, or cataphract armor. Very roughly, in terms of protection only, think of recon, marine, and cataphract as going up 1 tier in quality. Meaning, solely in terms of protection, very much as a rule of thumb, think excellent recon armor is the same as good marine armor is the same as normal cataphract armor. Recon armor has no movement speed penalty, marine armor has a noticeable movement speed penalty, and cataphract slows people down quite a bit. No, you can't fix these things with bionic legs. You would still be at a considerable disadvantage over having bionic legs and not wearing that armor. Dusters are better than parkas in every way but cold insulation. If you can wear dusters and not freeze to death, you want a duster. If you have to wear a parka, then wear a parka. These both can be worn with flak vests. Neither of those two can be worn with power armor. So it's either flak vest and duster or power armor. High quality dusters are pretty much strictly better than flak jackets. Flak jackets provide 40% sharp armor, but they come with a movement speed penalty. Devil Strand dusters provide 42% sharp armor and no movement speed penalty. Here's a chart from the wiki on materials sorted by sharp armor, and you probably just want to use the best duster you can make. For helmet, you pretty much want the most sharp protection you can afford. That might be simple helmet, flak helmet, marine helmet, cataphract helmet. Pictured is simple helmet, but ideally you'd be wearing a cataphract helmet. The temperature protection of hats and helmets is pretty negligible, so that really isn't a consideration for most playthroughs. Getting shot in the head is a pretty big deal, so that's generally the only factor you should be considering. Pants, button-down shirt, flak vest, duster, and simple helmet are generally fine choices for the entire game on every colonist, including melee colonists. Other items may be desired, but the most general use items are what went on the chart. Utility slot is very much personal preference, and what have you been able to obtain. For melee fighters, you probably want a shield belt or a jump pack. You may want fire foam packs on a few people, but for everybody else, it's whatever you can find and buy. Warning ahead, we're going to do some math. I don't want to teach math class. I think the summaries we talked about are pretty good. If you want numbers, we are going to do some. And I have some spreadsheets, tools, and calculators for you. Let's go. What about lower tier weapons and comparing weapons of various qualities? The determining factor you should be using when deciding between weapons and weapons of various qualities is which weapon does the most damage at the range you want to fight at. And there's an amazing weapon comparison tool on the Rimworld wiki that lets you do just that. Link in the description below, and huge thanks to Harakoni, editor on the wiki, making this tool. So let's say we have our starting bolt action rifle of normal quality. So we're going to go to bolt action rifle, and we're going to toggle it on, and it's going to put bolt action rifles on a chart. We'll look at this in a second. And let's say we've just found a good quality auto pistol. So we're going to compare normal bolt action good auto pistol. And let's pick a range. We want to be at a little bit longer range. Let's say we're going to do it at range 15. I'm going to come out to my fancy notepad, range 15. So first, let's check out the ranges are here. So touch is range 3, short is range 12, and medium is range 25. So we're going to sort it by what does the most damage at short range, range 12. And let's come down to good auto pistol, short range, range 12. So good auto pistol, range 12. And what was that value? 5.92. And what is the value of an auto pistol at medium range? And medium range is 25. Range 25. 3.38. So let's go to normal bolt action. Range 12. Let's see, where's our normal bolt action? Normal. Whoa, it's way down here. Normal bolt action at, which is short. This is short. Normal bolt action, 4.5. So it's that number right there. 4.5. And range 25, normal bolt action is 5.07. So we've got our values for good auto pistol at range 12. We got our values for the good auto pistol at range 25, and the same with normal bolt action. So the good auto pistol certainly does more damage at range 12 than your normal. The good auto pistol does more damage at range 12 than a normal bolt action. So you certainly want to use the good auto pistol at shorter ranges over the bolt action. But we want to be range 15. So let's do that. And you can just Google online for linear interpolation calculator. Linear interpolation is the fancy math term for how you calculate a value in between these. So when you have values like this, how do you calculate in between? It's called linear interpolation. So I've got a linear interpolation calculator here, and we're just going to plug in at range 12, 5.92. So at range 12, 5.92. At range 25, 3.38. And we want to know range 15. So calculate it. It's 5.33. Range 15 of our good auto pistol, 5.33. For a normal bolt action, at 12, it does 4.5. At 25, it does 5.07. So what is the value at 15? Just erase it so it has one box to calculate. 4.63. Range 15, 4.63. So at range 15, the good auto pistol still does more damage than the normal bolt action. And that's how you would compare weapons of various qualities and various types. I've got some more math for you to think about on ranged weapon selection. I'll try to sum up things first without math, and then demonstrate the concepts with math. You don't need to know the math. At low skill level, you want short-range weapons and short-range tactics. Damage falls off radically at longer ranges based on skill level. So let's check that out. I've got 3 colonists here. Shooting skill 0, shooting skill 5, shooting skill 10. Shooting skill 0, no traits, no health conditions. Let's check him out. And let's go to shooting accuracy. Shooting accuracy, skill 0, 89%. That sounds pretty good. 89%. Hits 90% of the time almost. Shooting skill 0, no health conditions, post-processing curve. What is this? The chances to hit at increasing distances are distance 5, 56%. You have a 56% chance to hit from only 5 cells away? That is ludicrously awful. Let's check that out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, let's put you here, and we got a target. And let's see what the accuracy is. It said 56%. It's not even 56%. It's 38%. We didn't take into account the weapon accuracy, and the weapon accuracy is only going to make things worse. So 56% would actually be the best case scenario. So we get 56% from the shooter, and then 68% based on the weapon accuracy right here. It's between those two values. It got to 68%, and that gives us the final total of 38%. From this close, 0 can only hit 5 38% of the time. And if we come back to this post-processing curve, it only gets significantly worse from there. Look how fast the numbers plummet to nothing. At a distance of 10, we only hit them 31.2% of the time. 31.2. What? Let's do that. Let's go to range 10. Get over there. Let's check this out. Shot by 0, 24%. Shooter, 31%. That's catastrophically awful. And as we said, rule number 1, at low skill, you want short-range weapons and short-range tactics. Damage falls off radically at longer ranges based on skill level. Okay, let's see how they got that number. So let's bring up shooting accuracy again. And the way it is calculated, we see 89%, but it takes 89% to the power of whatever the range is. And what that means is we just type in 0.89 for 89% into our calculator times 0.89, so that's squared. That's range 2, 3, 4, 5. Distance 5, 55.8%. 55.8%. So that's to the 5th power. Let's go to the 10th to make sure we got this right. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Distance 10, 31.2%. That's brutal. And look at the number plummet. And we could check out these same charts on 0, 5, and 10 in game, but someone was kind enough to throw this on the wiki. It wasn't me. So we're going to check out somebody else's amazing work here on the wiki. And this is those numbers on a chart. So we just checked out range 5. So range 5. And the blue color is shooting skill 0. So this blue color across the bottom here is shooting skill 0. Range 5, blue color, about 55%. That's what we're getting. That's exactly what we were getting. Range 10, it was 31%. So we can see as the range increases, the chance to hit absolutely plummets at low skill. At shooting 5, which is this orange line, it doesn't plummet as much. But at the green, it gets a little better, and the red a little better. And previously, we remember that this didn't take into account weapon accuracy, and weapon accuracy matters too. Previously, we checked out this weapon comparison chart, and these numbers take into account weapon accuracy at range, but these numbers don't take into account shooting accuracy. And if we remember in game, let me turn off the dots on the mouse. There we go. Remember in the game, we want to take into account both the weapon accuracy and the shooting accuracy. Somebody smarter than me put that all together on a spreadsheet. So let's check that out. We'll bring together shooting accuracy and weapon accuracy, and here we go. So I have set up this chart. We can see bolt action rifle is this light blue graph across the bottom. Heavy SMG is red, and it's way up here and falling down. And assault rifle is the dark blue. I have set this to shooting skill 10. So we said about heavy SMG, it's fantastic at short range, and as it goes up in range, the damage goes way down, and that's what this is showing. Damage is up here on the left, that is the Y-axis, and range is the x-axis. So as range goes up, or as we move to the right, damage of heavy SMG goes down. That's as expected. So let's watch what happens when we lower the skill level. So we can configure the shooting skill here. We're at 10. Let's go 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Look how the graphs absolutely plummet as range increases. This is what it means by, at low skill level, you want short range weapons and short range tactics. Damage falls off radically and catastrophically at longer range. Rule number 2 from the math: short range weapons at short range do more damage than all other weapons possibly could at any range. And the skill level doesn't matter for that equation. So we've got skill 10 here, and we're checking out their shooting accuracy. It says 97%. And we learned that you take that to whatever power to get range, and we can see that these chances to hit don't fall off as catastrophically as they did with skill 0. And let's go back and let's check out the Rimworld Wiki's comparison chart again. And I have just selected assault rifles and heavy SMGs just for this comparison. We're going to sort by damage at range 12. So let's sort it by descending order. And we see the heavy SMG is always above the assault rifle, assuming equal quality. So legendary SMG above legendary assault rifle. Masterwork SMG above masterwork assault rifle. 18s above 16, 13s above 12. Let's bring those two together on that cool spreadsheet somebody made that brings together skill and weapon accuracy. So I've got heavy SMGs and assault rifles checked. We're using normal quality weapons this time. It doesn't matter. And we're on shooting skill 10. So heavy SMGs at short range. So this is range 0 to 10. And this is how much damage it does. And the blue is heavy SMG at short range. The heavy SMGs just do way more damage. There is no point on the assault rifle graph where it comes anywhere near to being as much damage as a heavy SMG at short range. Short range weapons simply do more damage, and that intersection point is range 12 or 13. That's where assault rifles do more damage than heavy SMGs. An assault rifle does more damage at range 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 than a heavy SMG. They don't do more damage than a heavy SMG would do at this range. An assault rifle at range 20 doesn't do anywhere near as much damage as a heavy SMG at range 5. But an assault rifle does do more damage at range 20 than a heavy SMG at range 20. And this intersection point doesn't change based on skill level. So keep your eyes right here. You just watch where this line intersects, and I'm going to go up in skill levels on this graph. So skill level 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. The intersection point doesn't change. Skill level is not a factor on which weapon does more damage. Range is the factor on which weapon does more damage, and short range weapons simply always do more damage at short range than any other weapon could possibly do at any range. The purpose of mid or longer range weapons isn't more damage. The purpose is the inherent advantage of range. You equip a chain shotgun that can fire 12 cells. The chain shotgun is the absolute pinnacle of damage dealing in Rimworld. I'll equip this assault rifle that can fire 30 cells. I'm going to go stand way over there. Who's going to win this fight? Me. You literally cannot hit me from way over there. I shoot you, you don't shoot back. That's the point of long-range weapons. You do more damage at short range, so do the enemies. If a centipede starts blasting at short range, that's catastrophically bad. If a centipede starts blasting at long range, still bad, but nowhere near as scary. An enemy with a knife doesn't have to run very far to stab someone at short range. An enemy with a knife has to run quite far to stab someone at long range, and you shoot them the whole time. If an enemy throws a grenade at short range, all your people die. Here's 5 enemies throwing grenades at long range. Corpse rot gas and toxic fumes are catastrophically deadly if you're standing in it, but not a problem if you're standing all the way over there. That's why you use mid and long range weapons. Being far away is inherently an advantage. Rule number 4. There is no specific number where mid and long range weapons become better nor become viable. You can't pick a skill level number, you can't pick a colonist count number, you can't pick a weapon quality number where you think, I'm ready to use mid and long range weapons. The answer of when to switch is entirely subjective. You will have to decide by feel when you are ready to switch to mid or long range weapons. Or, of course, you could just stay short range forever. Any statement on use this weapon at this skill level and use this weapon at that other skill level may be generally good advice, but there is no math behind those statements. Mathematically, it's just simply not true. Rule number 2, short range weapons at short range do more damage. Skill level isn't a factor in that. When you can use mid or long range weapons matters a lot on what tactics you use. It is possible to use mid or long range weapons quite early if you use the appropriate tactics appropriately. For example, here is using normal quality bolt action rifles with low skill count and low colonist count. It can work. It can be viable, but often it's a lot easier just to grab any weapon, get close to the enemies, and land way more shots. 5. Style matters a lot. At the start of the guide, we talked about how it's about matching the weapon to the style of defense you want to use. For example, if everyone on your squad is using a bolt-action rifle, then give the new guy a bolt-action rifle. If you're using bolt-action rifles, you're probably staying at long range and kiting. If the new guy is low skill and you think, I should give them a short-range weapon, well, how exactly are they going to use it? Is your entire colony going to stand way in the back while that lone new fool tries to run into short range with their chain shotgun? That's not going to happen. They're just going to die. Just give them the bolt-action rifle and have them do the same thing as everybody else. If you do have a mixed style defense, then you can mix weapons. You may be doing a hybrid kill box with a short range area and a long range area. You might be doing hallway fighting, where there are short and long range positions. But the key part of the guide is, first pick what style you want to use, and there are tons of viable styles and tactics in Rimworld. And then pick the weapon that fits that style. I'm Mortal Smurf. I play Rimworld. Thanks for watching.